Good morning and welcome to a cold Yorkshire. Welcome to my Suzuki. This is quite a special one because this is the very first video in our new unit that we have upgraded. Got a lot more space. We're just moving in. We moved in the 1st of February, so it's literally been a couple of weeks. Lots going on. We're waiting for the toolboxes to arrive, we're waiting for the ramps to arrive. As you can see in the background, we've got lots of space. And this video, what we're going to do is we are going to fit a head unit, a reversing camera and a dash camera to this car behind us, because this car was sold at the weekend. The people who want to buy it opted for the Atoto upgrade because it's got a Clarion in from Japan, which is probably about 15 years old. It's not very good. It's all in Japanese, and although it'll get radio too, it'll play CDs. That's where it's limited to. It still speaks in Japanese, and it is using a Japanese sat nav, and it's searching for the satellites in Japan. So what I'm going to do, I'm not sure if I'm going to break this down into 3 videos, which will be the head unit, the reversing camera and the dash camera. But why I wanted to do this, and we weren't going to do any videos until we properly moved in, why I wanted to do this today was, unusually, and it's literally nearly 100% of people all go for the Dinitrol under body treatment. This customer wants to do it themselves, which is absolutely fine. We've had a couple before in the past. Nearly everybody goes for the new body treatment, because if you're going to get a car from Japan which has got no rust, rot, corrosion, that's the whole reason for buying it, and it's a good reason to keep it like that. I don't know if you can see. There it is. It is a little bit cold, but it's not uncomfortable in here. I think we're going to do great in the unit, and we will. I'll give you a good walk around the unit and an introduction to it at some other point. We're going to get on with this. This is specifically for Jimnys, but the actual process goes for pretty much any other car. It's very similar. It's just a procedural thing. It's a strip down, it's a put back together. First thing I always do is remove the old stereo. A couple of reasons for that. One is it's got to come out, but more importantly is there will be, as you can see here, and we'll have some light shortly with this. As you can see, we've got antennas going on, we've got GPS going on. There will be a lot of cables going through the back. That down there is the electronic card. It's the toll booth. You put a card in every time you start the engine. It says ETC cardo. Put the card in. That's coming out. And what you want to do is take any cables out that shouldn't be there, so that when you're putting your new cables in, it's not confusing. All this is going to come out. That's going to come out. It was a good one in its day, but its day is gone. And what I normally do is take the binnacle out, take this out, take this out, take that out, and then you've got a run. It's not a big job to do all this. This has got to come out anyway, because we're going to put a mile per hour speedo on it. If you've got a UK one, it makes no difference to you with that one. And we've put a fog light on there for the MOT, because it needs one on for the MOT. But if you can see that orange cable there, it runs to the back of the car. It's all secured for the MOT, so you don't get any advisories, but it needs routing correctly. That is just so that we can take it for the MOT, send the documents off to the DVSA, and it has to have an MOT with it, so we can get the registration process rolling. And then when somebody actually buys the car, if somebody bought this car and said, I don't want undersail, I don't want head unit, I don't want reversing camera, we will still take it apart, take the bumper off, just to run that cable properly. Right, so first things first, hopefully the glare from the light isn't going to blind you too much. I've already had the binnacle out to run the fog light cable around the back of there, so it could take that. So, and if you look there, what I generally do is put the screws that you need into the receptacle so you don't lose them. So there's 2 screws just up there, and the screws for there are very different from all the others. They are the ones which are countersunk, so they sit flush and you don't see them. So this literally just, there we go, a little bit of a pull, and then delicately move it around like that. We could put that in the back behind the driver's seat because that's not going to be moved. Then we have, there's a screw down there and a screw down there, which again I've left out because it made no difference. They're the ones, just take those out. A little bit fiddly because they're always behind where the steering wheel is there, but then this just unclips out there. I have done a different video where it shows changing the speedo face, if that's of interest to you, or if this is something you're doing because you've imported the car yourself. And it's one of those where you just have to feel your way through. Some things won't apply to you. So now that just, so it's caught there. That just nicely slides through there, and I will take this home tonight, do it on the kitchen table, because it's not just that it's warm. We've got an office that we're having built that we can work in, but it's not built yet, so it's pointless sitting in the cold and doing it if it's unnecessary. So back of here, this is what we've got. We have, that is the earth wire for the fog light. This is the wire for the fog light. One of the good things about taking this out is because if you can put your hand around the back of the head unit when you've put it in, you can relocate the wires. You don't want any nipping, you don't want any falling into. There is a metal channel in there that if one of the wires gets on there and it's pushing, it can fray, it can bear it. And when I say bear it, as in make it bear it, not tolerate, but you don't want that. Right, so there should be one little one there. And then you can use a longer one for this one. And then if you can see, hopefully right at the back, that's the third one. And what this does, this holds the fascia in. Yep. Now you can unhook the light, or you can leave it and slide it back like that. See there, look, we do have some more wires going on, but we'll find out what those are. Pop out cigarette lighter. Always good to check that. If you look at that, Japanese are like the French sometimes. They either chain smoke or they don't smoke. This is a non-smoker's car, brand new cigarette lighter, and then it's pulled out the bottom part way out, and then you disconnect the back of the cigarette lighter. Push, if depends what you're in, if it's automatic, push that, take this all the way down to low, and the top of this should just pop out like that. And the last one is, and there, we've got that out. Now one thing to try to remember is keep that like that, because when you're messing in the back, this tends to fall in, shoot away, and I can't tell you how many times I've snapped it all together, thought that looks great, and this is down there somewhere and you have to start fishing around for it. So we'll put that in the back nice and safe. Next one is going to be 4 screws holding the frame for the stereo. Now I went for years looking for a stereo. I've said this before. It was like a search for the Holy Grail, a stereo which would fit perfectly like these do. These are all from Japan, and they're not a standard, and they should all be a standard, and they all fit this aperture perfectly. And I went for years looking for a stereo. That sometimes I'd have a gap, sometimes I was having to cut with a Dremel out of the aperture. The Atoto that we use now is perfect, and this will be a big clunky unit, because just like old TVs, they used to be a lot thicker, and now the technology is a lot thinner. So that's your aerial which you're going to need. These you're not going to need. Some of these will be TV antennas. They love the TV. And literally, that's your USB, which you're not going to need because we're going to use a different one. So, and that's why all of these things need to go out. Now, somebody here, I'm going to have a little check of what's going on, and I think it's just they've tried to put tape around these. It's probably for the card reader, but it's hard to tell. And this absolute jumble of spaghetti is unnecessary because that's away. So what you're going to find is that there is an earth, so that can come out. That can come out. That can come out. These coloured wires can come out. That one has to stay. That's all the ones that you're really got to keep an eye on. Got to keep the same are this block connector and that there. Everything else, that's going to come out, because some of these are going to be the aerial up there, GPS. We will address that when we go around the other side, but for now we can leave that as it is. The card reader will do it nice and steady. Should just, that's it, just should peel off like that. And usually, yeah, there we go. Card reader, no good at all to anybody. It's a Mitsubishi Heavy Industries card reader, like they have in France, like they have automatic tolls everywhere. You put it in, you drive up and down the road, and it just builds your phone. Everybody has them. Well, everybody who's anybody. So that goes that way. These, we'll get underneath and have a look at that. We do want to put, well, this is where I put it anyway. Normally I put the microphone there, and I normally put the GPS on the back of there, and it seems to work fine. Instead of threading it up, putting it all there, sometimes you end up with too many things, because we can have the dash cam up there. Right, so we're in the footwell of the other side. We've got some nice Land Venture mats there. What we'll do, we'll take that out so we can see what we're doing, because we're going to clean them, and the carpet too. We're going to take this out, and this got to be really careful with this, because what you don't want to do is break these. They are very, see that one's already gone, but these you have to pull as hard as you can this way to just pop them out. You've still got two on, some have none on whatsoever, because it's been a bit of a nightmare. But you want this off so you can route everything down there. That's the first thing. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take out this panel that's next to the speakers. There we go. What you do, make sure you keep that. That's not really necessary because that's for a flare. We'll leave it in just in case. Every car used to come with a flare, but they don't now. I think they take them all out. So this, the glove box always is a little bit of a fight. You gotta pull it that way, push it that way, with some force, and then it just unlocks like that. Carefully looking after your trim, and then this is where you can work out what is and is not part of the car. Often the telltale for you, if you're not 100%, is snip the cable tie that's holding them to the loom. And it's anything like that. If you're unsure about that, you think, well, that doesn't look it. It goes to a connector, so it is. So what we've got going on here is we don't really need to be too careful with any of this. And this again, save trying to pull miles of cable through. That should just be the USB that comes out. There we go. And that will go to the other side because this green one, I think, is part of the card reader. Put all this cable into the bin, and then we can go up to the top side. And again, just for ease of working, you just pull that out, unhook that. This will be stuck to it. Sometimes the glue comes off easily, sometimes no. We'll have to take that off when we're cleaning the car, but let's get it off. You see, whoever's done this, they're taking it down there, which it works, but if you see, you can see it. What we're better off doing is gently easing this off. And if you ease it off, you can row it down there. You've got a lot bigger gap to go down, because taking them down there, and that's why you snip it off, because it makes it difficult to get off. I'll put that there for a minute. GPS we don't need, and this is just an aerial. It literally is an aerial. It's not a DAB, because a DAB would be bad to that. We used to put DAB aerials in until we started using these Atotos, because these Atotos support Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which means what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a blade under that and take that off, but that's not important right now. Right, so we're on the other side, still taking cable out, and you can work around things like this, but these panels are so easy to take off, you might as well take them off for the sake of it. And there we have another cable tie, meaning this black and green wire, and we know it anyway because it went to the card reader, shouldn't be part of this. So if we pop that off, they should hang down. And sometimes, depends who's done it, sometimes they are clipped to everything, and sometimes they just clip to one or two things. So we've got another one there. Just depends on who did it and how thorough or pedantic they were. And this, I think, is going to be one of those where it's clipped everything on the way up. So you may not get to see all this because that I snipped earlier. No, it's not. That is one that I'm going to have to undo at the back, you see, and that's where it's confusing. Now this one is taking, is it taking a live or an earth? See, that there is taking some power from the cigarette lighter. So we want that off because we don't want it. Anything like this, it's got a fuse on it. So rather than bear that off, what we're better off doing is we can snip that and take the fuse out, which will mean a couple of reasons for doing this. Get this out. So if we take this out, obviously because it's got a fuse in it, it means that this is a live. So if we take the fuse out, it becomes not live. But if we leave this in, that's safe because that goes into there. But what you've got there is the potential for somebody to, I don't know, wire up some sort of accessory, some lights, some interior lights, some footwell lights, which they can do. Just put a little, what we'll do, we'll put a little bit of tape around that just to keep it out of the way. But it's there for them to discover should they be deep into here trying to do anything. This one we are still looking at where it's going. And that is an earth, just going to an earth point, so we can snip the bottom of there. I don't think you'll be able to see what I'm doing there. So that's off, and then it's nearly everything. I will save that fuse. And I will pass it on to the owner with an explanation of what's there should they want to do anything. This, I will guess, is going to go up there, going up to the fuse box. I'm probably going to have to take the camera off to take that off. But I'll have a little look down there, see if you can see anything. In fact, quite a big black wire going down here. Yeah, I know where it's going. I think this is it. So, take this side off. And this is where you've got to be careful, because this is what we're after, and it comes around here and it's one of these, and I would absolutely guess without a shadow of a doubt it's this one, but you just got to be careful. And don't snip anything until you're sure. The reason that's not pulling the loose end will be up in the middle of there. It will be, and if there's another way to check this, and that will go that way. There it goes. And that's that one off. Again, it's going to be, get that in a minute, it's going to be a case of, I'll give it a good clean, get a blade behind that, pop it out. You don't need to watch me look for a blade. Don't 100% know where all my tools are right now because we're in a transition. But that is basically everything out, everything we need to be out, everything we need to start, apart from that green one, which is going. The green one. Alright, so this green one will be going to the gearbox, and no, it will be going to the parking brake, and it will be disabling probably video. A lot of times they won't let you, well, the system gives you an option not to let you watch video whilst you're moving, so it will disable it all unless the parking brake's on. So that will need snipping and taping off. But the head unit that I'm going to put in has the same feature, but it just works off the GPS. So once you're moving, it won't let you do certain things. It won't even let you search for a destination. Right, so reversing camera, we are going to take the bumper off, we're going to take the interior out, we're going to take the side panel out, and it is literally to run the cable from the center for the reversing camera to the front of the car. You could probably get away with sneaking the cables around inside. You can open a grommet, push it through a grommet, I tuck it under the carpet all the way down. It's not ideal. This is the way we do it. This is the way we've always done it. And it gives you a lot better finish, a lot better peace of mind that if anything's going to go wrong, it's not your cables chafing or bearing. It is something somewhere else, and it makes it easier to diagnose and find, but it's a more professional finish. So what we'll do first of all is start taking out the interior. So we've got, so what I normally do is put things on the roof carefully. That's why I put the carpet on first, so it can all go back on. I'm just going to pop these back in, because you see these for sale on eBay and they're a fortune because they are stainless steel, so you don't want to lose these. I've only got this out because this is an import. That's the fog light, and I need to push the fog light off there to get the bumper out, and then I will put I'll put a connector there so you can unconnect everything to take it out in future, rather than hardwire it to the bumper so you're having to cut wires to take the bumper off. So when we're finished with this, the bumper will be removable quite easily. So back to inside here, and the first thing we need to do, just move some of this trim. It is so nice to have acres of space. Right, so first things first, we are going to take the back seat out, bench seat. This you might spend some time trying to work out how it is if you've never taken one out before, because it is incredibly tight sometimes. Oh, and that was a lot of force. Once it's out, it just slips out. Put it there. We're going to take that away to clean it. But the reason we've got this out for, and it's a good idea this, because depends what the other owner had going on. This one, obviously, a little bit of Just don't want to snap these off. There we go. That comes out. Move them to the middle. They want to unhook both sides. Give them a little push from this side. Take that to wash it. Like I say, it depends what the other owner did. We've had him sometimes where this is absolutely full of all sorts. Only a little bit of straw. Don't know what's going on. Sometimes we had one and it was a mat of dog hairs. It wasn't that dirty. Once we'd cleaned it all, it was fine, but it didn't need to come off. So that wants to come out, and then all we need to do is take away 1, 2, 3 bolts. These are all 14s. The good thing about Japanese cars is they don't play games with what size nuts and bolts. They are very, very consistent. So that will stay on there until they get this off. With this we can take off. And that will just slide out like that. Again, we'll put it somewhere safe. And when I say they're consistent with the nuts and bolts they use. Now normally, when I take the bumper off and the interior out like this, it's all part of the underseal. So I tend to put them all in containers, but because it's not going to be long before we put all this back in, I'm just going to put them here for now. Now it's worth keeping them all together and in order, because some are slightly bigger than others. When I say they're consistent, nearly everything's a 14, apart from this, which is a 12. That comes off there. Pop that in there. Then we can put on a 10. And it's just easier to take this out so it doesn't snag the side panel, because we will be taking the side panel out very shortly. And screws there. Two screws out there. What you do find sometimes is there's just one missing there. Those two and those two need to come out. So what we'll do, take that out with this, and we want a little. Let's get this, because we'll use this in a minute too. So this piece of trim wants to come out so that we can get that side panel out. And this, you just want to touch the inside of it, and then it'll come out. And putting it back in, you push it all the way up, push it in, and then that locks it. If, don't ask me how I know this, if you push that too hard, let's get rid of this. Push the central bit too hard, depending where it is, it fires in there and can be lost forever. Now that grommet there needs to come out, because that was where the temporary fog light cable went through. It was routed. See, that just lifts out now. You've got another one there. And if we want, once we take the seatbelt anchor out, that will be ready to come out. So we're going to take this one out. Again, this is the one, if you push it too hard, will disappear into there. And it's just a pain not being able to put them back, the correct one. You can get similar, or you can get the right ones, but it's nice to put the original ones back into the place where they came from. So we're back onto 14 for this one. Which that was a 12. The only 12 in this operation. When you take this out, try to keep everything as it is. So you've got like a fibre washer on the end that keeps everything there, but it also keeps it in order. What I generally do with this is carefully, without touching the head lining, slide it over there. So it's nice and out of the way. And then we're in a position, take out this side panel. So the rear rubber pulls away just like that. You want to pull this out, then it will pop all the way out. And that's why that needs to be out, just to give it room to come out. You could probably sneak it past it, but for the sake of it, I really don't think it's worth it. Okay, so that's that. And you can hear them popping on the way out. And then it goes forward slightly. Just pops out. This, we will get a bucket of warm water for that to start with, and the back in the interior before we put anything back. With some, see this? This has never seen the light of day. With some Dettol. Now, this, I was said earlier, I was going to point out that if you were going to put aftermarket speakers in, it's not a difficult job, and it's wired in. There's a connector in there, but this connector is being used because it has got aftermarket speakers. So we've got front and rear speakers, so we've got quad speakers, so it will sound really good. These two just want popping out, and the reason for that is we need to find in there, we need to find a live for the reversing light. And like I say, you can go in there, you can get live off that. It's a bit scruffy, to be honest, because you've got to feed a wire in, and then most people use a Scotch lock. But it's better if you do it here, in there, everything's sat in here. You can tape it all to these wires. I'm going to take this out as well. I'm going to take this out just so that we can have access to this bottom corner, which will again become apparent in a second. So although this looks like it's a bit of a palaver, it's worth doing, because now what you don't want to do is get that right at the top and the inertia reel won't release. But it's worth doing because you're doing it properly. You're getting down there, you're going to feed the wires down there for the reversing camera. The electrics for the reversing camera are going to come up here and they're going to go into the loom, which you're going to tape back up. So we're going to take the bumper off now, and that is pretty much all of the stripping down. After that, it's going to be building up and installation. But okay, so now for the bumper. If you're okay with this, you can skip this bit to the actual fitting part, but if you've not done it before, there may be bits of interest and of use to you. I will try to put chapters in the video, and I was just going to do the installation because I've done a video on the breakdown, but it is relevant, to be honest. Take that off. So that's the bolts on the arch. You've got 3 here. And if you see, the both machine screws, they both fit into the same thing. The one in the arch is more of a screw. The ones in the bumper have got a collar. That's important. And just to make things more confusing, the ones in the lights are very much like the ones in the bumper, but without a collar. We've got to take the lenses off because there's another bolt underneath each one of these. So if we keep all these to themselves, and this, it's just a pop, top and bottom. And normally, now I've got a habit of taking these out because, like I say, usually when I take this off, it's off for quite a while. But it keeps it safe. That side's off. Exactly the same with this one, it's just a little bit more of a wiggle. And as you close the door, it opens like that. If you've got a UK Jimny, your lighting will be different because it's got things in the bumper cluster that this Jimny's got up in the body lenses. So ever so slightly different, but they've still got to come off because of these, which are going to take the bumper off. Again, if you see, it's got a shoulder on it. Just make sure. There, you see that drop? There are a couple more underneath. So we've taken the ones off the wheel arch, ones off the bumper, there for the lights, and then underneath there are a couple more, which are usually a little bit rusty like this. Well, that's only because right at the back of the car. They get everything. And when I say rusty, it's just a bit discoloured. There's nothing wrong with it. A little bit clean will do that up. When they say there's no rust whatsoever on Japanese cars, there may be a little bit of surface rust, but it's not deep corrosion. If you look, this is where all your issues are with the UK cars, in the boot, in the slam panel, the body mounts, none of that. But there might be a little bit of orange. So last thing to do now is, before we take the bumper off, is to disconnect the electrics. And this is where it's going to be difficult because I've got a camera and a head torch in a confined space. What I normally do is ease this grommet out, mind your eyes for any falling debris. And I can feel the there we go. So there's two connectors coming out. I'm going to take the head torch off because it's not on properly because of the camera. You may not even be getting this. I can fix it somewhere so it can hold. No. Yeah, that should do for now. Both of these should be relatively easy to come out. That's that one. There we go. That was a bit of a wrestle. Sometimes it's just impossible. There, you see all that? That's just a little bit of dust. It's all trying to get into your eyes. But now, that's off. That's off. And the bumper's off. Again, we're going to wash all this off. That's why I disconnected this so we could get the orange cable. Out of there. And the bumper's off to be cleaned. And there we go. And this is literally, and I say literally a lot, but it might look like overkill, but it's the correct way to do it. Okay, that is very easy to forget to put back on, and it's a pain to get back on. Once you put the bumper on, you think, oh no, I forgot it. Right, so everything's all broken down now, ready for installation, and what we're going to start with is the cable which is going to take the signal from the camera to the head unit. A lot of head units can use different cameras. The one we use, the Atoto, we use a Atoto camera as a Atoto head unit because they're all compatible, they all work together, and they're good quality. If you ever look at reversing cameras and you see an option of SD and HD, don't go for SD. It is literally like a video game from the 80s. HD is what you want. You want high definition. You want a good clear image from a good quality lens. This can get a little bit out of hand with the spaghettiness. And the way you tell with these is that one is for the head unit because that'll go into the head unit. That wants to go to the live, and that wants to go to the cable which comes out of the head unit. This is the back of the car because you've got the video and the power, and then you have got the pink one's signalling from the reverse light and the black one's the earth. So I'm going to route this. I'll just show you where I've got to so far. Tidied all that up, which was a little bit of a mess, and it has 3 Scotch locks on, which had then all been snipped, so something else was there earlier on its life, not anymore. I've got a cable tie there. Tidying all this, and what that's holding down is the fog light, which probably isn't a concern to you. The mic input, which runs along the back of there, runs up there, if you can see with the duct tape, and that is going to sit just on top of the trim there nicely, so it will be out of the way of the sun visor, just around about head level, so you can, it's nice and clear, doesn't interfere with anything. I've just left it hanging like that so I can show you where it's routed. In the back of there, if you can see, I put a strip of duct tape, and that's going to be for the GPS. It just sticks to that plastic, sticks like there's no tomorrow, but that means that the GPS antenna will stick to that nicely, and it's only a little bit of plastic it's got to go through. So I have, and what I've also done there is I put a cable tie around there because I'm going to feed the all the cables for the reversing camera up through there and leave them dangling here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to route it. I'll show you where I'm going to route it. I'm going to take it along the back of there, and we're going to come around the back of the speaker, inside the carpet, along, pull all this forward, and mate up with all these cables, if you can see them, run up to the back of the rear wing, and I'm not gonna film that because it's a bit of a fiddly job, and all this cable is like spaghetti, but I will show you it in a few minutes when it's all tidy there, and I'll show you where it is. Okay, so we've routed the cables. I've left this much out because that one's going to go to switch live, and that one is going to go to the reversing camera input on the head unit. That's just going to go into a jack plug. I haven't closed off this cable tie yet because there's a USB cable that needs to go through, and then everything will be tidy behind there. These I'm going to cable tie 2 cables when I bring the dash cam cable down, and they're all going to be tidied away there. But as you can see, these, I might as well pop that one under there. These run along the carpet with the existing wires. They're all tidying away, going through any holes that you can, clip into any cable tidies that you can, and that is ready for the trim to go back in, but we're going to hoover it first. So not quite yet ready for that. So this is where we are now. We brought, and I know I keep talking about the fog light cable, and it might be a bit confusing, but it's because it's an import, we've put a fog light on, and we're just running the cable at the same time as the reversing camera. So I'm just explaining what the orange wire is, so it's probably not going to be of any interest to you. Why there's so much of this? It's because you can put the reversing camera onto vehicles that are a lot longer. Jimny is particularly short, so you get a lot of extra. It's better to have less than more. We'll tidy that to there, put that under there and fix it in. But right at the moment, I've just left out enough that will come out the bottom of the car, but also these two cables now need soldering into the wiring loom, and that's what we're going to do right now. Don't know if I mentioned, but the battery's disconnected, just in case you have any slight mishap. I do have a number of snips, but these are particularly small, particularly sharp. Gotta be careful you don't snip another cable that you don't want to. But some of this insulation can give you really now. Ideally what you do at this point, where you're doing this, and if you want peace of mind, is get a probe, connect the battery, put the ignition on, put the car into reverse, and find the cable which is for the reversing light. But I know it's this red one. That is the red one. That's the reverse cable, and that one there, the pure black one, is the earth. So just adjust the light for that. So we're going to bear this, we're going to bear that, we're going to put this generally pink one with the Far Eastern cameras. We're going to solder the pink one to there, we're going to solder the black one to there, slightly different places, tape them up, tape it all up, feed the connectors down so they dangle below the out of the bottom of the car where the rest of the loom goes down, so they're all going to be together. And then we're going to fit the camera onto the bumper and run it along, so everything will connect at the same point of the Z's. So anytime anybody wants to take the bumper off, it's not a case of having to sever wires and connect them again. Everything will connect nice and neatly. So I'm going to prepare these for soldering, and then I will put the camera back on. Right, so here we are going to mount the camera. Quite an easy job. Got to make sure this can be easy to get disorientated, because obviously it's off the vehicle, it's upside down. The camera wants to hang roughly around about there, so if you look down, it's not standing proud of this, but it's not too far back that it's going to get in the way of the number plate. So what you get for the affixing of the camera is a double-sided sticky pad, and some of the tiniest screws you've ever seen, and they are so tiny that you need 2 and they always give you 3. With this company does anyway. I'm guessing they were sick of people getting in touch and saying, I've lost it, can you send me one? I'm sure you can source them. But it's just a nice little touch because they are so easy. I used to do this. I used to balance this across the top of the dustbin because it fitted really nicely. And more than once I've dropped the screw in the dustbin, which is a bit of a, oh for goodness sake. So I found the best way to do this is to work out whereabouts you want it. It doesn't have to be absolutely critical if you just do it by eye. And you really don't want to be taking it on, putting it off again. So there you go. Fit it on with the pad. And make a little indent on both sides. It will more than likely hold with the pad. But if you've got screws and you've got a way to screw them on, and you do need a small screwdriver for this. And they are so fiddly, see. And what you need to do is just have a little bit of pressure on, and it will start to go into the plastic. You put your finger behind, you can just feel they are just long enough to go through the base plate, the plastic, and not actually come through, but you can feel the point wanting to come through. It's obviously, with it being a plastic bumper and the threads being metal, if you just keep screwing, they will pull all the plastic threads that you've just created out. And there you've got, it's like belt and braces, you've got both. Now this, I might as well show you this rather than lie on the floor and show you later. I've just tightened that up now. But there's one either side. And that's where you're going to get your adjustment from. But you might as well have it reasonably firm for now to stop it flopping about. And then I'm just going to push that through there. Now with these screws I always save the third screw, and I do have quite a few of the third screws in reserve, just in case I have an absolute disaster. Right, so this is not probably 100% necessary, but if you're going to make a neat job, make a really neat job, this is a very odd concept. It holds the number plate lights, pops out of there. If you lean it forward, you can get the cables, pass them through there, and they won't come through unless you open it. And then you can shut it again, snap it over there, and these 3 screws. back in, and then we can get some tape and start taping this back to the loom there, and this is where it's going to connect. So the other ones which are dangling around about here with about that much will snap into there, put some tape round, and everything should be ready to go. So I'll grab some of this tape. And this where we've got the junction, completely tape it to the rest of the loom. The only thing I would change, they really are a good system of these reversing cameras. The only thing I would change is I would make this longer. I would make that, if you made it that much longer, you could take it through there and it could connect, push up, and it's not hanging outside the body. And it's nice and safe away from dirt, dust, mud. But it's not, there's no way in the world that where the camera's sighted, that will ever fit to there, because it's literally that long. Well, there you go, nice and neat. The bumper now is ready to go back on. Only one thing, which I'll do while it's here. I'll do it with these sharp ones. What I normally do now is cut this. And it does feel like sacrilege, but I've tried different ways of doing this. But when this goes back into the hole, it's so tight it pushes together like that. But doing it this way, it means that will accommodate the cables coming through. Along with the fog light cable that is an extra for this car. So all three cables that go through there, we'll tape them up. They go through there. What I'm going to do now is, which you don't really need to see, I'm going to run a cable from there to there. And then the existing fog light cable is going to go in, so the reversing camera connectors are going to go through here, connect onto there. These are going to connect onto the loom. That's going to push up into the body. Just going into the round aperture there is going to hold it together. Do you know what I mean? There's no issue there. I've tried different things. I've tried sort of drilling that and pushing everything through, and it's more trouble than it's worth. That is a good solution. You can see there. There's no issue with that. It doesn't. You can hardly even tell that it has been snipped. So I'm going to run the fog light cable and come back to this. Okay, so there we've got I brought the fog light, taking it through the little hole that we made, put connector on. I'll tape the connector up, so the bumper now is ready to just pop back on. And as you can see, everything's hanging down there ready to be connected. But the good thing is, because they are all going to be a connection, you could take the bumper off and on as necessary. There we go. So both of those want to hook over, and then it's pretty secure, temporarily obviously. Needs all buttoning down, but this is where we go underneath, and it's a little bit awkward with, oh no, this has come out. It's a little bit awkward trying, I know I keep explaining, trying to get the camera and the torch in line with each other, not interfering with each other. And normally the head torch is right on my forehead, but the camera's on my forehead, so the head torch is not as secure as it could be. And when I lie upside down, it tends to start to fall off, and I can feel it falling off. So I'm going to try my best to let you see. Hopefully you can see that. That's the first connection. Then the red one. And there you see, hopefully you can see that. We've got a lot of things under here that the top of my head is banging into. But that's a fog light connection, and these are, you cannot get these wrong. One's a male female and one's a female male, if you know what I mean. But all the connectors on a car are all different. That's why there's a million different ways, all slightly different, and you've got to hear it click. So if we start to push all this up, that's going up. That's the first connector. The second connector, let's have a look at that. Do we need to do it now? Yeah, I'm going to put a little bit of tape around that now, because I might not have room. I might not have room to reach in there for it. Should be reasonably safe, but it is a live wire, so right to be safe than sorry. And then we're going to feed everything up through there, which we are going to be able to pull up from the other side. Now this is already through the hole in the seal. There's the hole. We just want this and this. Unfortunately, it's right where this piece of paper is. And then this can sometimes be a task. And it's one of those where they can often do it better without watching. Okay, so these, everything there is. Now what I will do, I will put a little bit of tape around there just to keep all the dirt out of there, but that looks pretty secure to me. I might need to. That's it. And there we go. So now, the thing we need to not forget is unhook that again, slide that down, push them back in, and we're back on. Okay, so this is now, you can look down there and see if there's anything that needs tidying up, and it all looks, I feel you can literally never ever going to be able to film this because my hand's down there. Everything feels fine. It's nice and neat. So, bumpers back on, camera's on. That camera, everything is done now up to there. So the next job will be 2 more soldering operations, and then that will be ready to test. And I am going to secure the bumper now. It's just the operation in reverse, so I don't really think anybody would be interested in watching that. Okay, so moving on to the head unit. This is the Clarion that came out of it. As I say, good unit, past its best. Needs changing because there are so many functions that you really do need. In the box with the Atoto A6, you will get 2 of these. Slightly configured differently, and this goes into the back of the head unit, which I'll show you shortly. You get one of these which is exactly the same, which means you can, if you so desire, wire these yourself. You can solder them yourself. I've soldered them before, and for the reason I didn't have an adapter at the time, it's not a big job, but it's an unnecessary job. This does not come with the Atoto. This is an adapter. All UK units will come with what's called an ISO, and this is the ISO connector, which normally this would just plug straight into a UK connector, but in Japan each manufacturer has their own. This is Suzuki's. It's always bright blue. If you've never done this before, that might look a bit overfacing, slightly intimidating. If you've done it before, it becomes a walk in the park the more you do it. This brown one, I'll just quickly explain. The brown one controls all of your audio, and each one of these pairs of colours is for a speaker. So if you're just swapping out, say a Jimny that's just got front speakers, you'll only use 4 of these cables, which is a pair of one colour. If you've got speakers in the back, which this car has had extra speakers put in the back, so it's going to have quadraphonic sound. The head unit has a graphic equalizer, so you can move each speaker individually, get a different sound from them all. This is your main controls, and the only ones you really need are those 3. These 3 aren't used. One of those is the power antenna, and one of those is steering wheel control. But ones that we're concerned with are the red, which is switch live. So when you put your ignition on, that becomes live. The yellow, which is a constant live, and the black, which is your earth. So it is, they control it, they make the sound, and it's as simple as that. It looks a lot like spaghetti when you get lots of them together, especially when they're free like this. But that will plug into the car. Can't get these wrong because the step to one side, so that goes in that side. That goes in that side, and then out of here, what we will be concerned with is that pink one, which is going to be soldered to the incoming signal from the reversing camera, and we will probably use this one as the live feed. So we'll put the switched one and that pink one onto the incoming cables from the back of the car from the reversing camera. That is the GPS receiver. We'll put that in the car. This bolts onto the back of it. Those two don't need to be concerned about. We have two USBs. One of them is storage and one of them is for your phone. So one of these will route and we'll put it into the glove compartment. The other one will route underneath at the back of the compartment, and we will plug in the dash cam. You can get a splitter, so you can get a splitter, so you plug a little adapter in there into the USB, which will have two ports, which means you can put your dash cam on it, but you can also put a memory stick on it. So you can put a memory stick on this, which means you can put your music, your video, all sorts of stuff onto your head unit and play it back as and when you like. Or you could put a little USB stick which is full of all your songs, and you can have your music library. And then we've got these two. Both of these are important. You can't go wrong plugging these into the back because they are all different. That has got 5, that's got 2 minutes to count, but it's the longest one. That's all you need to know. This one has to go in because if you want to put in a subwoofer, anything like that, amplifier, you can use all these, but the only reason that I'm going to be putting this in is for that, because that is where your jack goes in for the external microphone, which you will use for your hands-free. And this one has to go in because that is the input, the RCA input for your rear camera. So the rear video signal comes in through that, gets its power and its trigger from the cables, but the actual signal comes in through that. We have got a number of things. We've got some films to go at the front. We have got some frames just to fill gaps in if necessary. And this one has got quite a lot of different permutations of how you will fit it. The ones that we are interested in, and it's always, I don't know how they get these into these bags, but they are a nightmare to get out. Don't necessarily need to use everything, and somebody spends all their life taping these together. Can be quite sharp, so it's probably a good idea. Those we don't need. These we do need. And we might as well get these out while we're looking at things. We're going to need some of the small ones, some of the large ones possibly. Now, with them we've got an instruction book, a fitting guide. Depends if you've done it before, depends how confident you are. The fitting guide, it's good enough. But as I say, when you've done this enough times, so there's your head unit, pristine condition. Again, we've got like protective seal all around it. That's why I put this on this, not just to keep Heidi happy for the tabletop, but it's just a little bit softer than wood, so if you do have a little bit of a mishap. Right, so what I tend to do, I tend to use this as, because it is obviously made for it, I use it as a sort of a stand and a protective element. Now one of these, they can only go one way, and that is the wrong one. When I say the wrong one, it's for the other side. 50-50 chance I won't be buying a lottery ticket today. So as you can see, you've got a cut out there, and that meets up with that. So then, another fiddly job. And you need a tiny screwdriver for this one. But like the reversing camera, they give you more than you need because they're anticipating clumsy fingers. So we can spin it over like that. This one's already out. That does have a block like this one, but it's underneath the certificate. And as you can see, I'm going to use 6 of these. And there's about 5 left. They are it does slightly splay them out, but that's not an issue. So there's the back of your unit, and as I say, the GPS goes in there, the antenna from the car goes in there, the power lead goes in there, and we're going to use 1, 2, 3, 4 of these, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there. There are actually 6 outlets, and that is for they will use this body for different units, like this and this. So that's ready to put in. What you really need to do is work out how much is sticking out from this unit. So it's that way up, and this has probably not been taken out for many years. And that is literally up to the fascia surround, and that pushes through it. So it's that. This is where you want to be looking at for making the other one sit, because it has so many holes. There are a lot of permutations as to where you can actually sight this unit, so it can go in and out, front and back. It's a lot better than not having sides. If you have to put sides on yourself, it makes it a lot more awkward. This, I find, is a really, really good solution. So you've got to make sure it's the right way up. And then, as you can see, it's slightly splayed out, but that will pull itself in. And what you're looking for are holes which will line up. And as you can see, we've got that one, and that one. So we use their screws, because their machine screws are actually made for their brackets. It really wouldn't make a difference if we use the other screws. This is another thing, I used to keep the screws because I don't like throwing things away. And then you end up with so many screws that you really don't need. Four's good. Just check in there, because this side, the back of the unit sticks out further than that side, and you can sometimes, if you choose the wrong hole, be trying to screw into the side of the unit. It's not what you want. And as you can see there, you've got a lot of very nearlies, but two would do, possibly 3 would be ideal. 4 would be great, but it never really works out like that. Okay, so then you turn it round and keep adjusting it till, and there we go, we've got 1, 2, 3. Try this one instead. Now, if you like, what you can do, you can take this to the car. No connections at all, push it all the way home, pop the fascia on. It takes an extra 5 minutes, but you will know whether it's sitting proud or it's sunken down. If there is any sort of a gap around it, you've got a thin, let's have a look. I'll just show you this now. This is the thick one. You've got a thin one and a thick one, which will just snap around the edge, and it fills gaps in quite nicely because it is made to measure. So I'm going to do the speedo now, and then it's back to the car. You don't really need to see the speedo. There is another video for that, but it would be pointless you watching it. Right, so back inside the car. This is the ISO connected to the back of the head unit, and we've got 2 connections in it. We've got the pink cable and the red cable. The pink one is for the reverse camera, and the red one is to give it a live, and I'm not 100% sure if it matters if it goes on at switch live or permanent live, but I normally put it onto switch because it's safer. Okay, so we're just going to solder those. Same procedure as before. A little bit of flux on both of them. Get them both ready. Set the Dremel going. Put it somewhere safe so it can heat up. A little bit of flux on the solder. You see down there the heat from it. There we go. Obviously don't do it over your seats, just in case. Don't do it over any plastic fittings anyway, just in case. And there we go. Most importantly, turn off the soldering iron. Wipe it in there. Make sure it's safe. Good few minutes and that'll be okay to put away. But that's the end of the soldering. And we're now ready. After a bit of tape, a little bit of tape on those, and we're going to put the connection on. That's that one. And what I normally do is, when all these are in place, just tape all the looseness together. If that makes sense. So, because that's going to the back of the head unit. Put a little bit of tape around there. Just to keep everything tidy. And then what we've got is, that is your adapter, which clicks into there. This is your ISO connection. So you've got Suzuki to ISO to head unit. That is going to go into the video feed. And then we've got the aerial jack, microphone jack, aerial, that's going to go in there. That's zipped up now, so I'll snip that off. And that one there, we are still waiting for the USB cables to go through there, which I'm going to put on now. Right, so back of the head unit, and we've got one USB here, and it's easy enough to know where they're going because that one's got 4 in, which is that one, and I'll leave them in the polystyrene foam. Just a little bit more protection when you're pushing them in on the front glass. This is the second USB, which has got 3 in, so that goes next to it. There you go. And these two, because they're close to each other. No, not that one. I shall put some tape on this because these want to run together until they get to the glove box. And it stops one getting tugged and pulling on the back of there. This one is only reason I'm putting this on. I mean, there are other reasons to put it on, but this is for the microphone jack. That's in there. And then the last one is for the video camera input, which is 5 pins. 1, 2, which is that one there. Okay, so don't worry that you've got two ones that have got nothing in it. And lastly, a little bit fiddly, I want to pull out a couple of lengths of the GPS, just enough to let you put the receiver at the back of the dash. And it comes to a halt. It's an 8mm spanner. And it just wants a little bit of a nip. That's never going anywhere. Right, so head unit's hanging in there. We've got the GPS stuck to the duct tape, and it's just a case of connecting the ISO, the reverse camera signal, there it is, microphone jack, aerial. Is that everything? I think so. And what we'll do before we put it all in, we're going to just turn the ignition a little bit light. Boom. First time it comes on, it takes a little bit warming up, but after that it's quite quick. And the first thing that I normally listen to is the radio, so we'll pop that on, which is usually should just crackle. off.
In the gallery, they're hearing you.
That's what I thought.
There we
They're hearing you
go.
go to Alabama.
That's what I thought. I thought Kathy from.
I will mute that because if a song comes on, YouTube will throw up a violation. What we want to do is look at the, see if that's working. Fingers crossed. There, look at that. How about that? And that's why I was quite confident to put everything together, because it's literally a procedural thing. If you get everything right, the clock will be wrong. That's, I think it's Chicago, it sets off. Another thing to just check, if I put the lights on, there we go. The lights come on the unit, lights off on the unit. So, happy with that, happy that everything's working there. So what I'm going to do is turn it off. Ooh. Oh, sorry, it's that one. Turn it off. Turn the ignition off, which we need to be in park to turn it off. Take the key out, and then I can start moving all the cable in to where I want it to be, and I can put it all back in properly. Right, so there's the head unit. As you can see, if you see there, the surround fits perfectly. It looks like it actually does look like it's factory fit. We've got the reversing camera in, we know it works. We have got everything working on the head unit. All we need to do now is fit the dash cam. And what we're going to do with that is, I've cleaned all the windscreen around there. I'm just going to lift this up a little bit and slide the dash cam up to it. What I'll do first, though, a good thing to do is to offer it up. This is going to sit around about there, so it's behind here, so it's not going to obscure any view from the driver. And it wants to go around there, and that will pop under there, and then we'll run the cable all the way along there, down the A-pillar. So, once again, we're going to take the, it's not always a really good stick at this time of year, because it is so bitterly cold. But it will stick eventually. It just takes a little bit longer. So if we pop that up there, and that, that now goes under. Fit it all the way along. What you want to do is pull the headline in back as far as you can without creasing it. So this is the other part of it, and it has got an absolute tiny connector in it, as you can see there, but because it's got a lug, it can only go one way, so you can't get it wrong. Push it in like that, make sure it's nice and secure all the way home, and then that, once they go under the headlining, because you won't get the connector to go around this corner, so it wants to just be cable that's going around the corner. This is the hardest bit to do without being disrupted to the headlining. And if you can pull it at an angle, it will it'll all sit back down. Then what we need is, this is how I do the duct tape. If you do it half at a time, it does pull off really easily. Just push it into the corner. If you do it section at a time, the more you put on, the more securely it sits there. And it just looks nicer going down the A-pillar than running down the windscreen and out there. So we can address the rest of it in a minute. What we want to do at the moment is get on the floor, pass the USB down that. And I don't know if you can see, but it's coming down. And we'll give it a test. There, so it just plugs in to the external storage. As I say, this one is going to sit in the glove compartment. So we're going to pop the head unit on. And for this one, it's not the front cam, it's the DVR cam. Hopefully, fingers crossed, there we go. And if you see there, look, if I just tilt that, got a nice view of the bonnet and the road ahead. That is the flux. Okay, so we've got that, and what I normally do is I get rid of that because I don't like it. You can do this as you like. Bluetooth music we can put back again if you like. I would get rid of YouTube. Play Store is handy if you want something. Then I go in here and I put that one. Now the car link, that's Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. I put the DVR cam there. And the reversing cam there, so you've got your front camera and you've got your rear camera all set up, and then you do it as you like it. But that is literally all I will do now, is feed that through there, make it a little bit tidier. Put the glove compartment back on. That will sit in there so that should somebody want to, all they need to do, plug the phone in there. It will connect Bluetooth wirelessly for Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, but you can plug it into there and it will connect automatically, but it will also charge it. So you can put it in a glove box while your phone is charging. A great solution. And don't forget to put these into the trim for the A-pillar. I've just pulled them out of there, but often they pop out. And everything else is, as you say, the same in reverse. I've done the speedo, so the speedo is going to be put back in a minute, and then we've washed all the seats. The seats are going to go back in, and basically that is your dash cam, reversing cam and head unit install onto a Jimny, but it's the Atoto system and it's a really, really good one. If you go to this one, all you would do if this was your system You go to there, press scan, it's going to scan. Now I've left my phone at home, so my phone isn't even here, but it'll scan that. Your phone will pop up there, you click on there, it pairs it, and if you press that button, if your phone is in the list of paired devices, as soon as you put the ignition on, your phone will connect. So, hope that's helped some people. Till the next one, sayonara.